Well, thank you. Well, I'm glad to be on this panel to celebrate this important publication, but I don't have much to add to what has been said already for the broader context to which Professor Odorico exposed us, and to the comments of Professor Pipidi following the initial opening of the meeting. I could say a few words about the history of this editorial project, which has produced these very imposing volumes. Back 5 years ago, back in 2014, I had seen an album of archival documents on Brancoveanu, which was a very nice work of typographical art, but at the time I didn't think it would be very helpful to research. And I suggested at the time that it would be much more useful to have the documents not only reproduced in facsimile reproductions, but also transcribed and in this way made more easily accessible to research. And that idea of 5 years ago is now realized in these two imposing volumes. So I have been thinking what would be the next assignment for this project. And since the second volume brings the story up to 1710, we have to await for the documentation of Brancoveanu's last 4 years before his martyrdom along with his sons in 1714, and therefore a third volume will be in the making. And my suggestion for the third volume is that beyond the documents, it should have commentaries on all the individual documents which make up the collection. So the vista of research and work is now extended, and I hope that at the next meeting, perhaps not in 20 years, when the next Congress will meet in Bucharest again, but sooner, we will see the completion of the project, which is important for a number of reasons which have already been alluded to by Professor Odorico and Professor Pipidi. And I would like to just add one more. Brancoveanu could have been one of the great state builders of Europe, had he been an independent prince. Unfortunately, he had to live under Ottoman despotism, and he fell victim to despotism eventually. But this document, the documents in these collections, help this great historical personality come out of the shadows and appear as a manager of day-to-day administrative affairs in his principality. And this is very useful in understanding the logic of power and administration in that very early phase of aborted state-building projects in southeastern Europe. For all these reasons, I think this is a welcome publication, and I congratulate all the contributors to the effort, the editor, of course, the publisher, and the typographical establishment which produced this very nicely put together and presented and illustrated volumes. Thank you very much.
Mon collègue, c'est extraordinaire parce que cet livre fait un passage de le premier volume, c'est un rouge impérial, et le deuxième volume, c'est un verte islamique. C'est intéressant, cette image. C'est un livre extraordinaire parce que c'est un instrument de recherche. C'est comme un album, mais c'est un instrument de recherche très bon, je crois. Et c'est un travail extraordinaire que Claudio et mon collègue travaillent beaucoup de temps à ce livre. Et je suis heureux et je suis fier parce que mes collègues viennent avec ce livre ici. Et bravo Claudio et merci. Ça c'est tout.
By the appearance of the second volume concerning the period 1689-1710, together with the first volume, researchers as well as the general public have access to both the image, but especially to the informational content of over 100 Brancoveanu documents, which captures different aspects of the economic, social, and political life of more than 6 decades. The documents, including in the first volume, made perceivable the personality of the future ruler of Wallachia during the period prior to the occupation of the Wallachian throne, when he held important ranks in the administration of the country. In this way, the archival material completes the information provided by the Brancoveanu chronicles, fragmentally subjective, and which have been the only historical source documenting the period of the Boyar Brancoveanu for many studies and works. In the second volume, we continue to bring to light historical Brancoveanu sources, documents issued during Brancoveanu's reign. As the third volume, it includes documents written in Romanian, Cyrillic, Turkish Ottoman, and Greek paleographies issued during the last 5 years of the Wallachian voivode reign. We express our entire gratitude to the president of Alexandrian Foundation, Mr. Nawaf Salameh, as well as to those who encourage us in the excavation of archive deposit, to Mr. Ioan Dragan and Cristiana Nița, directors of the National Archives, but also to Mrs. Alina Pavelescu, and to all my colleagues from the National Archives who permanently stood by me during writing these books. Beyond their usefulness for the students in their attempt to understand the mysteries of Romanian Cyrillic writing, we hope that the transcripts of the documents accompanied by facsimiles of the originals, the latest one published in a perfect manner through the publisher's care and special skill, who also represent a useful material for historians, philologists, and linguists. We must also be grateful to those who worked hard to make this transcription, to Laura Florina Ghermet, my colleague, and in particular to Mr. Grigore Tănăsescu Vlas, who also still a student in the second year of the Faculty of History of the Bucharest University, rigorously deciphered, transcribed, and verified the documents with high accuracy, also assuring the translation of the passages written in Slavonic. For all this, it is appropriate to show him all full appreciation, and we hope that in the future he will be one of the best document publishers. Finally, I must express my gratitude to all those who have been with me, teachers, colleagues, and students who have made it possible to archive and put into practice this approach. First of all, for their advice and guidance in the Ottoman archives, I am thankful to one who was my Hoja, to late Professor Mihai Maxim, and to Mrs. Irina Hritscu. I also express my thanks to the editor, Mr. Cristian Brutaru, who in many moments of disconcern generated by the difficulties and finding the Brancoveanu documents encouraged me to continue my work of archivist paleographer and assured the editing the documents by exceptionally processing not just the image of the document, but also the text, details, and miniatures. Last but not least, I'm grateful to my wife, Sorina, and to my son, Mihnea, who allowed me to be absent from home for long hours. Without their understanding and support, this step will not have been possible. Thank you very much. Thank you, dear professors.